Good morning. Today is August 8th, 2018, and I'm bringing out an urgent matter that I feel really needs to be dealt with. For the past couple of months, some of you may know it's been kind of hard. I've been going through the shelter system, trying to get myself back together again. I fell off. Some of it was due to medical reasons because I needed dental work done, so unfortunately I wasn't able to get work, and things got a little tough for me here in New York. I went through 9/11, and I got sick, both physically and emotionally. So I had a hard time dealing with situations, but I wasn't really incapable of leading a productive life. Basically, it was just trying to get the help that 9/11 responders are finding it hard to get as time moves on, and so it was hard trying to keep up here in New York. I had came back from Indiana after living there for a little bit, and in Ohio. Great people, wonderful people in the Midwest, and it was a great experience. But when I came back to New York, it was extraordinarily high cost of living. It's really hard to maintain apartment and cost of living expenses, and New York is changing now, so unfortunately it's become more cynical. So as I was making my way, I started off, I went through Bellevue. I slept on the streets for a while, ate at the shelters and at the soup kitchens, and I struggled. I maintained and still trying to get a job, I was working on my OSHA, and went through HRA, worked for them. They were full of shit. They cut my case off last February in 2017 while I was still doing work for them with Wildcat until April. And when I went back to find out why that happened, HRA's response was, we don't investigate that. I mean, really, you shut people's cases down while they're still fulfilling an obligation to you to get public assistance, and yet you shut their cases down because I went to get, I needed to get dentures, and I had to get surgery to have teeth removed and then to receive dentures, and my insurance was stopped. So I had been ambulatory twice in February, and I went to Bellevue Hospital. I had walking pneumonia because Wildcat did not supply the proper uniforms to work in the wintertime in the outdoors. So being that I had lost everything, my stuff had gotten stolen, so I had no way to really try to keep warm and keep protection from the elements. So that was one aspect of dealing with HRA, and then the beating that I had received back in October of 2017, which I was falsely arrested, and the case was dismissed. They never even showed up to court, and I had stick marks on my face. I was beaten by HRA police and FJC security for no reason, other than I told an officer who was acting erratic in the elevator that she shouldn't be pressing all the buttons, boom, 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 because she risked getting us stuck in the elevator. I had, that was another experience that now I'm going to civil court for. To get justification and to get, cameras put in the HRA building, because this happens more than what you realize, where they virtually beat the hell out of people in the building and then falsify charges against them. And this is HRA, Human Resources Administration, police, and the FJC security, who do this on a regular. And, they justify the beating by falsely charging you with criminal charges that, now you go to court and it gets dismissed and sealed. They never even showed up to court. So that was one aspect. After leaving Bellevue Hospital, because they fucked around with my case, I had 7 different social workers, caseworkers, who promised everything, blowing sunshine up your ass and never producing anything. I was told that they were going to help me get my OSHA certificate so I could go to work and make a living for myself, producing and being a productive part of community, and they would never fulfill the promise. I think what it is that they utilize the homeless situation as a means of milking the misery. And so they don't want you to rehabilitate. They don't want you to get a job. They want to keep you on the statistics. And now something new which has occurred, because again, I left Bellevue and I went on the street again, and then went to Bowery Mission, and my caseworker for Goddard Riverside got me up here in the Y, and I'm at the Y currently in Harlem. Beautiful, beautiful Harlem. I love Harlem. People are great, but the system that just basically exploits the homeless situation. It's out of control. There's no oversight. I'll give you an example. My caseworker for Goddard Riverside moved me into a program which came into this building at the Y. They took a floor on the 7th floor, and it's called CUCS Kelly program, and it's the Center for Urban Community Services. And in this program, it's supposed to get you housing. You stay here approximately 7 to 8 months within the program, but it's a program based upon disingenuous promises and behavior. I find out that the other day I had been in this program for maybe a month and a half, and I didn't really care for it so much because it's more of an institutional type setting. They feed you, but it's an invasive, intrusive, where they knock on your door. It's like you're a grown-ass man being treated like a 5-year-old child. And so the other day, there was a female. This is a co-ed situation here. We had a female that was accosted. Had a gentleman that threatened that he was going to, and I witnessed this personally. Okay, we were in the day room, and it was approximately 2300 hours, 11 o'clock at night, and this guy comes in, commits lewd and lascivious acts. Oh, you just need some dick. Nothing was even being said to this man. This man was drunk, smoking crack, and you know how people get, they lose their inhibition, and this man was out of control, man. And he told this woman he was going to expose himself to her. He was, there were witnesses to this, okay? And not only was I a witness, but the victim was a witness, and there was another woman in the room that witnessed this crap. And these people did nothing for this woman, okay? Usually when you see this kind of conduct being committed in a public setting, if it's on the train or on the street, the cops are called. Because, this dude nobody knew. Had she been by herself in the room, there's no telling how far he would have gone. He didn't care about telling her she needed some dick, that he had 10 inches, that he was going to take it out in front of her. And when you have this type of behavior occurring, when you bring this type of person into a co-ed setting, into the YMCA, where you have women that are guests in this hotel that have nothing to do with any program. They're guests from other countries, okay? And you have children in the daytime coming here in the summer program, and you have these individuals conducting themselves in this manner, in this type of setting, and nothing is done to stop it. The person isn't removed. There are rules of conduct that you have to abide by in the YMCA. First off, they make you sign a contract. If you have a dispute, physical dispute, you're both thrown out. There are no winners. But yet, we had a woman that had lewd behavior conducted towards her. I mean, it was disgusting. He was depraved. And this is an individual with a track record, and I know him, and because I was with him at the Salvation Army. I'm not going to say any names, but everybody knows it, okay? And I made quite noise about this. I said, this should not be tolerated here. You're endangering, number one, by condoning this type of shit. But you're allowing somebody who's a potential sexual predator to conduct himself in front of a female client. You're not even offering the least protection for this woman, okay, who had to continually see this individual, because obviously nobody calls the cops. I'll tell you one aspect though. I was sick with diabetes. My sugar jumped through the roof. I measured high on the machine, and so I was trying to drink water, rest, because they're so concerned about my condition that they don't even provide you an air conditioner. So the room is sweltering hot here, but yet they have air conditioner for another guy on the 9th floor who's not even there, who doesn't even need an air conditioner, but they gave it to him, and he doesn't have any medical condition. But if you have a medical condition, they don't even concern themselves. But they called the EMTs on me and the paramedics, and I had to basically prove myself to the telemetry doctor that I was conscious and alert, and I was cognizant of my being, and I just wanted to rest. These people knocked on my door 20 times, would not leave me alone. I told them, please leave me alone. I'm trying to rest. I will deal with myself and my health issues at another time. Okay? But they didn't want to deal with that. But they're quick to call EMTs and paramedics, because what they do with this program, and I'll explain to you, because this was a letter. I had no ID. I had to go through the New York City identification because the HRA police tampered with my wallet. They glued my Social Security to another piece of paper, so therefore they defaced that, and then they stole my New York City ID and $34 out of my wallet. This is HRA police, okay? So this CUCS program, when I needed to go to the New York City identification to reapply for New York City ID, which was stolen from me, so that I could get my New York State ID and a new Social Security card, writes this residential letter. And I'll explain this is now that you have to sign a HIPAA agreement, right? They can't divulge your personal confidential information, right? But I have the caseworker from hell, who basically just came out of the school for caseworkers, okay? And for the longest time I've asked to speak with a peer group for 9/11 responders, because like I said, I have PTSD. I deal with memories, I deal with nightmares, but I deal with it within myself. So I reached out to help, because I lost faith in the system when it came to Bellevue and HRA. But these people come off, we care, but it's bullshit. It's bullshit. This is a racket that they're running here. They're taking over property all over the city, putting homeless shelters where the community doesn't want them, and rightfully so, because there's really no screening process when it comes to these shelters. When you have this type of lewd and lascivious conduct occurring in a co-ed setting, where women are being told the most disgusting shit by other clients who are known predators, and it's swept under the rug, nobody calls the police, security can't get involved at the YMCA for some reason, and I really would like to inquire, with the YMCA, Mr. Steve Lawrence, Executive Director. I'd like to know. I mean, if you have children in this building, and you have these programs being run where you have these people, these potential sexual predators, in the midst, because there's no curfew here, you can come and go anytime, but you all have a common pass area down in the first floor, where you have these people intersecting with children coming into the building. The community children that live in Harlem, whose parents send them here in good faith to be involved with the summer camp program and expecting full protection. You got to wonder what these parents would think if they found out that there were sexual predators crossing paths with their children. Not to say that these children aren't under guidance, because there's people that are with them. There are adults that are with them, very well protected. But this morning, I see this sexual predator. I call him anybody who conducts themselves in that manner in a public setting. That's a predator. If he's someone that comes into a public setting and has no remorse or no inhibition about telling you he wants to show you his dick, and wants to expose it to you, and that's what you need, and doesn't care that there's 2 women in the room and another dude in the room, and has to be escorted out by the staff for CUCS, yeah, that's a sexual predator. If you go by his door and all you hear is porno being blasted out of his door, I work with this individual and I've seen how he would talk about the young girls in the Salvation Army, and it made me sick to my stomach that I left because of him, because this was accepted behavior there. Nobody cared. Everybody thought it was cute because he conducts himself like Billy D. Williams, and everybody's just, swept up by his charisma. I see him for what he is. He's a pig. He's a predatory sexual predator, and he proved himself. And the fact that the CUCS program swept it under the rug, and when I complained about it, the lights were turned on me. That now I'm being looked at. I'm being framed up, because obviously the sexual predator can have total access to the program. This woman has to continually visualize when we sit in the day room for breakfast or any other meal, and he comes down for the meal and he's like telling the staff, "Hey sweetheart, how you doing?" This is how he talks to the staff, and the staff sees nothing wrong with him. This staff is ill-trained, very inept at how to deal with potential predators. I did some research to find out if there were other problems like this in other shelters. Yes, definitely. Matter of fact, there was a young lady who ran a shelter system in the Bronx where a sexual predator was trying to rape her and killed her with a gun, shot her in the head, killed her. She was running the program, okay? These people come from the Midwest. They come out of these colleges with very little understanding of how the community works in the homeless sector. And they treat the people and they throw them all in one basket, And so when I went to go get my ID for New York City ID, this is the residential letter. Now I have a lawyer who mentioned this may be a violation of HIPAA, which we signed, okay? But check this out. To whom it may concern, Paul Isaac has been a participant at the Center for Urban Community Services, Harlem Transitional Residence, the Kelly, since 6/25/18. Now watch this. The Kelly is a transitional shelter where chronically street homeless adults diagnosed with persistent mental illness are provided with case management services in an effort to prepare them for permanent. Why would you write that in a residential letter to the New York City ID? Now they didn't see this, but my lawyer has a copy of this letter. I have never ever seen a residential letter where you need to describe what the person, if somebody's attending Alcoholics Anonymous, would you tell them that this person is a persistent alcoholic, thereby defaming his character and causing him, humiliation? You take my confidence in telling you that I suffer from PTSD from 9/11, and this is the type of crap you write because you think you're A1A social worker of the year? You violated my confidentiality. But again, this is what goes on here. They feed bird food to you. The refrigerator fucking stinks. You got people on the floor that piss in bags and store it for who knows how long, to where the hallway stinks. It's a fucking health hazard when you're serving food in the same premises that this fucking stink is all about. That's a health code violation, man. And the refrigerator where the food that you serve the clients stinks like something crawled up in it and died. It boggles the mind where these people, who's making the decisions for this shit. Because you're sitting here defaming, and I'll show you, because the letter was corrected, okay? And they knew they fucked up. But to whom it may concern, Paul Isaac has been a participant at the Center for Urban Community Service, Harlem Transitional Residence at the Kelly since 6/25. Mr. Isaac has been residing at the Harlem YMCA since December of 2017. Okay? Now second, it says that I was diagnosed. I was never diagnosed as mentally ill. I suffer from depression, naturally so. I suffer from PTSD from what I experienced on 9/11, but you know, you make it sound like you're dealing with incompetent people who don't have the cognizance or wherewithal to deal with their own. I mean, I had to argue with these people to leave me the fuck alone because I just wanted to rest. They wanted me to run to the hospital. And, you know, it was like, wow. You know, you're so concerned, but yet I don't have an air conditioner and it's sweltering in here like at about 102, 103 degrees for a diabetic. Okay? Now, it's not that I'm trying to get special treatment or any type of shit, but, you know, you claim the YMCA would not provide you with another air conditioner, but yet there's another room on the 9th floor where the guy has an air conditioner, and he's not a medical condition, okay? Not trying to take it from him, but don't sit here and bullshit me about how much you give a flying fuck about our health and welfare when you're sitting here trying to score points for yourself on the lives and misery of the homeless people you claim to be trying to help. To top that off, you allowed a woman to become the victim of sexual harassment. Somebody who wanted to commit lewd and lascivious behavior. And when we complained to you about it, your first action was, oh, but you don't need to concern yourself. Excuse me, the shit happened right in front of my face. I didn't hear about it hearsay from third party. I was right there looking at it. And not once did you concern yourself with trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Or not once did you ever think this is not the type of behavior you have in a co-ed setting. Because today it was a verbal abuse. Who knows what the hell it'll be tomorrow? You understand? If you don't screen these people properly in here, then you're only begging. You're only creating a recipe for disaster. And I guess what's going to happen is some woman is going to have to be raped, severely beaten, or possibly killed. Because the inept, the way these people conduct themselves is like they try to make it like a mental institution, where if you go to them with a complaint about rape, lewd and lascivious behavior towards a female client, and you act in her defense because obviously they took a day and a half to approach her on this matter. And what did they do? They gave the other guy a warning. They said, no, you can't do that. If you do that again, you'll be removed. Somebody who commits lewd and lascivious behavior on the public transportation has the police on their ass. Somebody who does it in the street, you wouldn't allow this person in your house. You wouldn't allow this type of behavior in a school setting. And yet you have children in this building every day for the summer program. And I spoke with the security, I spoke with the director, I spoke with the building manager, and they all agree. But it seems like the CUCS has autonomy, has the authority to say, we're not going to do anything about it because it's okay. We're trying to get these people housing, if you know what that means. It's a racket. That's all it is. And if you type in CUCS Kelly program, you'll see that when all this started occurring back in 2015, 2016, the community was very much against it because the developers were first going to build condominiums and affordable housing. And what they turned around and do was snuck this homeless thing into the community, and the community was in an uproar. They were like, wait a second. We got all these programs up here. Why do we need another program? Why do we need, because it's a racket. It's got some sort of kickback scheme where, to the point that these people actually ignore criminal, lewd and lascivious sexual behavior towards a woman who wasn't even doing anything to deserve that. And then there are certain floors, and I won't get too much into it until it's pressed, but that's all they do is drink and smoke crack all the time. There's nothing done to stop it. There's nothing done. This is the YMCA. And I'll show you some shit about this place. Because it's all a racket. The YMCA gets paid something like $1,500 a day by this program. This is what I'm hearing. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on it. But they get paid like $1,500 a day to house these people, myself included now. But I'm looking to get the hell out of here, man, because I will not have you writing shit like this, since I took in no psych examination that says that I suffer persistent mental illness, okay? This is just a cover-up so that they stay within the guidelines and the clauses of operation. That's all they do. They're just moving everybody into this program. They don't care if you have a RSO, registered sex offender, if you have a homicide, if you have anything. You understand? They say, oh yeah, we do background. Bullshit. They can't do a background because it's confidential. So we just accept them at face value until something happens, and then all of a sudden it's would've, could've, and should've. You understand? So now they got this thing with me where they're gonna just keep an eye on me because I've spoken to all the right people. I gave a letter to my lawyer, a copy of this residential, which, you know, you don't put shit like that on a red. You just announce what program it is, identify the address. Yes, he's a participant. This is his address. You don't put down this other mumbo jumbo shit because you just violated your confidentiality clause. But I'm not a lawyer, so my lawyer will deal with this. But as for now that I made all this racket about this issue, now I'm being pressed. You know, if I visit my friend, it's, oh, you can't talk to her. You know, it's like, wait a second, hold on. You allowed sexual behavior to go on here, lewd and lascivious behavior. You did nothing about it. But if I talk to my friend, now it's all of a sudden I'm targeted. You're being warned. You know, this is the type of shit that goes on here when you blow the whistle here. It's retaliatory. And so they're trying to, I told my caseworker today, I said, listen, you need to get me out of this presence because I will not tolerate having sexual offenders around me. I will not have that shit. And if you continue to allow it to happen, I will take this shit up to the command, up the chain of command, whether it be the council, if I can get into speaking at the council meeting, at the hearings that they hold there, I will be glad to just divulge all this, because this is nothing more than a racket where they dehumanize people, where they talk to you as though you're incompetent. If you bring up any kind of fucking shit that's wrong with their shit, they look at you like, well, we can't discuss that with you. Yeah, you will discuss that with me, because each and every person, whether they're a guest in this building, not a part of this program, or the clients, or the children that come in here every day, has a right to be protected from potential predators, man. And you bring these predators into these confines where children, women, foreigners, guests, whoever, come into this building while you have these people in your program and you know that they have a tendency and a propensity for fucking committing this shit, and you treat it like it's a non-event. You're only asking for a major class action lawsuit, man. And you're asking for a fucking investigation from whoever up top has got to investigate it, whether it be the state AG, the city attorney general, the fucking feds, whoever needs to investigate, because this is fraud and it's RICO, man. It's racketeering on the homeless. They have all these buildings that they will house you in, but they can't give you the basics, the least amount of protection from potential homicidal maniacs, from potential sexual predators. You have to share living quarters with these people, and you have your own room. But when you go into a common area, these people come and ain't there. They go there. They look for whoever they're looking for there. So I say it to the powers that be. I say it to the community at large, whether it be Harlem or wherever these places are being set up, where they want to make it look like they're trying to help the homeless, but all it is a racket. That you take a real good look at the people who are being housed in these programs and who are being housed in your community, because they don't care if there are sexual predators in these confines. They don't care if you have people who have a tendency to violence, because it happens. It happens quite often in here. And unfortunately, if it's zero tolerance for combative behavior, then it should be zero tolerance with the fucking police if a woman is sexually harassed, raped, intimidated. And this was the cause. I don't stand to gain anything from this. Being that I was a witness, though, I will push this cause because I saw the reaction of the staff. I see the reaction of the main staff in this building, and I'm going to be bringing this up to 198 121st Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue, which is the main headquarters for CUCS, and we're going to bring it to their attention. We're going to ask them if they condone this type of shit, then you know what? There really needs to be an investigation into how these programs are working. Because if they're allowed to, speak this way about you, violating your HIPAA, violating your confidentiality, and making it, so that they score points on, they work within a certain guideline, so they have to portray you this way, even though you're not this way, even though you have not been technically diagnosed by their doctor this way. So this is called defamation of character with intent, at least in my legal terms, because the intent, the motive is for them to push the racket. Hey, he's crazy. Yeah, we're helping him. We're going to get him housing. Then we'll get our grants. And then we'll get whatever financial benefit we get out of this. Because if they can afford to pay $1,500 a day, allegedly, per person, per room, then they got money. And so obviously somebody's making money somewhere. And I'll tell you, if they can afford to pay $1,500, there's a whole lot more where that comes from. And the complaint also is the hygienic. They're serving food out of a refrigerator that stinks like shit. It stinks like a rat crawled up in there and died. This is on the 7th floor at the YMCA at 180 West 135th Street, okay, in Harlem. And so they'll serve you food out of this. Sometimes the food comes rotten. Sometimes you can't even eat the food because you have diabetes, and that means you're on a special diet, and they don't make anything from special diet. They just give you the food that you get, and you got to eat it or you don't eat it. You understand? They don't care about your health. I have partial neuropathy in both my hands. They don't give a shit. Not that I'm expecting them to, because I already know how the system works. But what pissed me off is that a crime was committed here against a woman, and they swept it under the rug. I complained to everybody, it wasn't that serious. It was a few words, and he proposed to her, and now... No, he didn't. He threatened to fucking expose himself to her. He cursed her out, called her a bitch, told her all she needed was dick, but that's swept under the rug. So I implore you, as the community, as the community at large, for those who are concerned about the people coming into your community, and to those people who bring their children to the YMCA, and to those people who are investigating these different organizations. You have Goddard Riverside, you have CUCS, you have BRC, you have all these different groups, but this group in particular, CUCS, has actually known about several different cases where women have been assaulted, have been approached, lewd and lascivious behavior, and they don't do anything to protect that woman. You understand? The woman had to leave a couple of days to go stay with her family because she had to keep visualizing this guy and listening to him as he freely spoke to the staff in a very comfortable manner. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing? And being that in itself is the cross of the barrier, because there's staff and then there's client. But when the client feels that it's comfortable enough that he can speak this way to the staff, and then commit this type of behavior in front of a client, a female client, in front of two female clients, and the staff does everything to protect them, then we have a serious problem here of ethics and morals, which should be investigated. Because there's no telling, this is something that I witnessed personally, but I know the guy from before, and I told him, I said, he's got a repeat pattern. But they don't care, because they just want to make money. That's their bottom line. These people are called caseworkers. I call them puppet show, because when you talk to them, they just look at you like, like you got three heads on your shoulder. You tell them a woman was nearly fucking raped, and they look at her, wow, we took we took care of that, and you don't need to know any further. We're not going to discuss that with you. This is the answer that you get, even though you were personally witness to this shit, This is how they try to discredit you. So I'm telling you, whoever is out there listening to this, whoever the powers that be, the members of the community in Harlem, you know, that have stood in the council member or wherever that meeting was held, where the developer never showed up, and it was somebody else that had to speak on his behalf to promote this crap. These people will allow criminal activity against women. Now, today it's the client. Tomorrow these people move into your neighborhood and do this to your family members, your children. You need to screen these people better. You know, I was an auxiliary fireman for 18 years. I went through 9/11, okay? I went through 9/11 as an auxiliary, went through the North Tower collapse, worked ground zero, month and a half, 2 months, and these people treat me like I'm a fucking piece of shit on the street. You know, and that just, you know, it just goes to show you the day and age that we live in, where we have absolutely no respect for veterans, we have no respect for first responders, and we have no respect for women's rights to protection from predators in an establishment that milks the misery, man. So I ask and I implore you to get involved, because you have a lot of innocent women that come to this program. You have a lot of good people that come to this program too. They just got, you know, victimized by the system, circumstances beyond their control, and they found themselves on the street. But within these groups, you have predators, whether they're violent or whether they're sexual predators. You need to screen them out and put them in a different type of facility, whether it be jail for repetitive behavior or in a different type of homeless setting, because in a co-ed setting, this is only a recipe, excuse me, for disaster, and it's only a matter of time. And God forbid that happens, you're going to see a lot of heads rolling, because you're being warned now what's happening in these homeless facilities. This is the YMCA. Children come here. You wouldn't bring children into a pervert's house, and you wouldn't let a pervert stay in your house. And these caseworkers sure as hell wouldn't let them stay in their house. But yet, we as the homeless community are forced into interacting with this type of shit. And then having to witness as they do their thing, and it's swept under the rug. So I implore you, whether you be political, whether you be an activist, whether you be a community representative, whether you be a concerned citizen, look into this matter, investigate it. And if you want to speak to me, I'm here at the Y. I will tell you what goes on here. I will tell you the type of crap that goes on here and what's ignored and what's pushed under the rug. And it's a recipe for disaster, and it may not happen here, but when they house these people in your community, best believe it's going to happen there. And believe me, it's not that we're all this way, because I'm sure as hell not this way. I'm trying to pick my life up, but you have these individuals in here, and this groups, these CUCS and Goddard Riverside, overlook it and go, you know what, it's not that serious, man, don't worry about it. Well, I'm sorry. I'm a part of this community, and I refuse to allow innocent people be victimized by something by people who are complicit, by people who don't see it as a crime until it happens to them, could care less about the homeless community's right to protection. I implore you, please. It's a matter of time, and then we're going to be stuck in would've, could've, and should've, and we know would've, could've, and should've never stopped it. So I ask that somebody please oversee these programs and make sure that these criminal acts are prosecuted and dealt with properly, legally. Because even the police that I've spoken to said that that's a crime. And had it happened on a train and somebody filmed it, it'd be all over the fucking news searching for this particular person for this offense. So I say this to you for New York and for the country at large where these community operations occur. Because you know what, I've been around the country and I've seen homeless communities, And I've seen where the homeless people are treated like crap. Just look at your 10 cities and how they're treated. And so I implore you, before a disaster occurs, before some woman, innocent woman, gets hurt, please oversee this crap in New York. Thank you. God bless.